Imagine living in peace for hundreds of years, and then one day having a foreign people come and take over your land. Imagine having your peace shattered by a people that don't understand your culture and don't care to. Imagine seeing hundreds of your friends and family slaughtered by these outsiders that find justice in their actions because they are saving the land from savages. Imagine being forced to relocate and left without rights and in a state of poverty. Imagine having your children taken from you and moved to a government boarding school to be taught the right way to do things. Imagine them doused in DDT powder, their hair cut from their heads, and suffering the consequence of beating for using their native language, beliefs, and religion. Imagine living in constant fear of rape, destruction, and murder. Imagine trying to pick yourself up after all these hardships, trying to overcome poverty and repair the damage in a wounded nation. Imagine your only option being to take nuclear power plants and waste onto your land in exchange for money to build your community up. Imagine being a Native American, the constant target of the United States government. Nuclear power plants are primarily built in areas of increased poverty. These areas are either willing to take the payoffs or they simply don't have a choice in the matter. Easily, the most common targets of nuclear power organizations are indigenous peoples. Native American reservations are the first to be approached by nuclear power companies for three main reasons. They are sovereign nations, therefore the nuclear companies can manipulate the differing laws. They are also extremely underprivileged, so massive amounts of money are used as bribery to help reduce their poverty levels. And finally, throughout our country's history, indigenous people have been severely mistreated and held in less regard than the rest of us. Sadly, in many people's eyes, it would be better to expose Indians to the terrible side effects of nuclear production than to expose the rest of the country. From the very first nuclear testing, the United States government timed the test with the wind so that the majority of the radiation was being spread over native lands. As a result of early nuclear testing, there has been an extremely high percentage of cancer all over the western United States, and especially in high concentrations in the Native American population. The history of our nation has many black spots, especially concerning dealings with Native Americans and other minority groups, from segregation to genocide. These groups, namely American Indians, are the most severely affected by the nuclear industry. They simply don't have the resources available to them that would allow them to put up much of a fight. Although they have been more active in denying the U.S. government permission to dump toxic waste on their lands, they don't hold any power in stopping the production of nuclear energy and waste. American Indian reservations also have no control over whether or not a nuclear power plant is erected anywhere near their land. The Prairie Island Reservation in Minnesota, for example, has had no say whatsoever in the construction of the Prairie Island power plant that sits less than 600 yards away from their home. Residents of the reservation are considering trying to move farther down the Mississippi River, a decision that will have to be negotiated with their treaty laws. Many people believe that nuclear power is the most effective way to power the country for the future, but the facts are it is not effective at all. Yes, it does generate energy. However, it is not a clean process as many people believe. Nuclear production not only emits harmful atmospheric pollution, but it also produces mass amounts of highly dangerous radioactive waste. Waste so hazardous that it has to be contained for hundreds of thousands of years. It is also an extremely costly procedure. Did you know that it costs between $5 and $20 billion to erect a single nuclear power plant? And that doesn't even cover the maintenance of the plant or the money put into trying to store the waste it generates. Billions of dollars are spent on cleaning up the messes born of nuclear power, and we are rapidly running out of resources to continue this way. We have already destroyed far too many indigenous regions. We have already exposed far too many innocent lives to radiation that results in severe health problems. We have already begun digging our grave at the feet of this devil on native lands. It is time we start listening to the Native Americans. It is time we start respecting them and honoring their treaties. It is time we start using alternative forms of harnessing energy such as solar, wind, and water power. And it is time we put this devil to rest. Natural forms of energy are much more environmentally and health conscious. There are no carbon emissions, no harmful atmospheric pollution, and absolutely no adverse health side effects. By switching to clean forms of natural energy, we will be saving the environment, our health, and our money. Why spend billions upon billions of dollars on an extremely dangerous form of energy that doesn't even produce enough power to justify its side effects and produces so much hazardous waste that requires secure storage for hundreds of thousands of years? Why deal with all of that when we can focus our efforts on the Native American way? The way of clean energy that naturally renews itself and poses no threat to this beautiful planet and the life struggling to survive on it. Help save the Earth from this monster of destruction. Help stop the nuclear industries. Take a stand and join the fight against nuclear power production. Visit greenpeace.org to learn how to take action.